A little bit different from Tamika's. She's a survivor of dating violence. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And my story is also different from hers because I did not have my mother's support and love to guide me and coach me through my recovery and surviving process. I was abused starting at the same age as she was, was in her abusive relationship with her boyfriend at the age of 14. I was abused by my mother's boyfriend, who was also a pastor, who is also still a pastor to this day, which is why I am here. What is important about what I want to share with you is that my mother had recently divorced my father. She was very vulnerable, and I know that in today's society, the divorce rate is very high. There are so many more single parents out here, and sometimes it's not even the mother with the children, sometimes it can be the father with the child. But in either case, parents are vulnerable when they're single. They're looking for some type of support, they're looking for guidance, they're looking for help. And this man came into her life and offered that to her. What she didn't know is that he was trying to support her daughter on the side. And because I did not have the type of relationship that it seems that many of the girls in this room have with their mother, I didn't feel I could talk to her. Everything that happened for 2 years between me and her boyfriend, I kept to myself. And I would simply come home from school, I would test the water, and I'd say, "Mom, somebody was teasing me in school today." She'd say, "Laquisha, go sit down." So that was a clear indicator to me, I can't talk to you. So I carried that burden with me up to the age of 16 when I ran away from home. Well, I call it run away from home to my father's house. My mother called it run away from home. I left to stay with my father, and he helped me to get into college. But the downside of this is that my life was spiraling downward. My self-esteem was low, as Tamika's already expressed. Fortunately, I didn't have the guys pursuing me in school because my self-esteem was so low I wouldn't even make eye contact with people in the hallway. I was a loner, unsure if I could trust people. I had one friend in high school that I talked to, not about that, but I talked to her about other things. And it wasn't until I got to college that I realized how low I was. I took 119 pills in order to try to end my life, because I felt like I couldn't talk to my mother, I couldn't tell my friend, nobody would believe me because he's a pastor. And I just had all of these mixed feelings and emotions that rushed in on me at one time that made me feel not unworthy of life. Which, number one, I would like to say, if you ever get to that point, it's so important then to seek someone's support and help. Even if it's not your mother, you would need someone in your life at that time. I went through several transitions. I went through the I don't talk to anybody transition to the I joined the church and now I'm real saved, so then I'm going to go out and save everybody else. But I was still lacking that relationship with my mother. I can now say that it has been 12 years later since my abuse started, and I now have a relationship with my mom. And I formed that relationship with my mother about 2 weeks ago. Wow. So it's very different. It's very different, very weird. You know, hearing my mother say, "I'm supporting you in what you do. I believe you. I'm sorry that happened." I'm sometimes sitting on the phone listening like, "Well, why now?" You know, I'm wondering what happened. My mother saw that I entered pageantry, that I became a spokesperson for a child sexual abuse organization, that as a teacher I would take on students in my class that were being abused. She saw I was doing all this work. Something must have clicked and said, "Why would my daughter do all of this for this reason?" And so I would like to just share with the mother, sometimes it's very easy to dismiss a small conversation with your child. It could be something as simple as, you know, a lot of times you might get in a situation where you're on your cell phone, the child wants to talk to you real bad. "Mom, mom, mom, mommy, 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 mom, mom." You're just like, "Don't you see me on the phone?" You know, so even though that might not be the time for them to talk to you, make sure you follow up with your child, or as Tamika already stated, start and initiate that conversation with them yourselves, or even, you know, make sure that you know who they're surrounded by. because my mother left us in the care of this pastor. Now, she knew that we were with him, but is that something that a single mother really wants to do? A man just entered your life and you leave all three of your daughters in a house alone till 9 o'clock at night while you're at work. You know, be aware of the surroundings, who they're with, who they hang out with, who their friends are, and keep the communication lines open. And I didn't share a lot of details about the actual abuse because really the topic is the dating violence. But you know, I'm open for questions. Please don't feel that you can't ask me something. As Tamika said, one with myself now. I've recovered. I'm a survivor, and I also share my story with many audiences. So if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask me as well, I'd be more than glad to answer them.
You mentioned that he's still passing down. So have you ever gone to give him, prosecution for what he's done?
That's a good question. Actually, I work for a couple of child sexual abuse organizations, and I also work very closely with people who work in law enforcement. Because of the amount of time, I did actually tell at the age of 18, because of the amount of time in between the actual abuse and when I told they couldn't find concrete evidence in order to make a conviction. So because of that, there was no case formed against him. So it was just my word against him.
But he knows that you are now putting that information out, and he still, I guess, feels still comfortable with doing whatever he's doing and don't feel guilt.
Yes, and he's also still in communication with my mother.
Oh. Have you ever confronted him?
I have only encountered him one time since I have recovered, and he had a hard time making eye contact with me. And the conversation was extremely brief, like how's school? Good. And that was basically it. But my mother, I think one of the things that she's having a hard time with is seeing him in his true form, because she's still trying to hold on for some reason to some type of relationship with him.
So they're still together?
They're not together. He's married now, but they still... This sounds like some Jerry Springer stuff, I know. I didn't even tell y'all the best part. He's really her second cousin as well.
Oh, wow. This is a heart-to-heart mother. This is not Jerry Springer.
But she's having a hard time just missing him completely. Which, as a single parent, it can be difficult. You got this man that's giving you money and paying your bills and whatever other needs you need fulfilled, and here's your daughter, like, cut it off. What are you going to choose, you know?
So he never approached your sister?
No. After I left home, I kept in very close contact with them, and I briefed them on, you better tell me if this, and this happened. I never told them, though, what had happened to me.
But he wasn't, like, when it was, you said it was 3 of y'all?
Yeah, 3. I have 2 other sisters that are younger than me.
I wanted to know, like, it was only you, it wasn't the other sister?
Yeah, it was only me, and he chose me, number one, because I was the oldest, and I was the one that he could manipulate the easiest, meaning that, you know, he'd say that stuff like, if you tell, no one's going to believe you, versus he said it to a child, they'll still around, Mom, he touched me and said not to tell you, you know, so it was different for me because I was in high school, and I had that fear, if I say something, my family's going to turn against me, so I was the only one.